Hey, I'm Daniel, and for this episode of the Filmcraziest Show, I was joined by some guests to talk about their new documentary, The Holy Game. Joining me were co-directors Brent Hodge and Chris Kelly, as well as one of the documentary's subjects, Father Michael Zimmerman. Father Michael is one of the many soccer players in the film, as the film is about an annual tournament called the Clericus Cup, where young priests in seminary play in a soccer championship in the Vatican. The documentary was released on digital formats yesterday, June 28th, by Gravitas Ventures in the US and by Crave TV in Canada, and links to watch the film will be directly below. Here is Brent Hodge to introduce us.
Hi, my name's Brent Hodge. Co-director Chris Kelly's in the box somewhere over here. We're the directors of The Holy Game, and you're watching the Filmcraziest Show. Thanks for having us.
Cool. Chris, did you want to go too?
Yeah, let's do it. Hi, my name is Chris Kelly. I'm the co-director with my dear friend Brent Hodge of the film The Holy Game, and you're watching the Filmcraziest Show.
Cool. And then Mike, did you want to go as well? I guess just say your documentary subject.
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Father Michael Zimmerman. I'm a subject and leading star of The Holy Game and grateful to be on the show, the Filmcraziest Show, joining you all.
Cool. Now, do you prefer Mike or Michael?
Michael generally. Usually I go by Father Michael, but if whatever you're comfortable with is fine.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good to call you Father Michael.
Yeah,
sounds good. All right.
Cool.
If I could start by just sharing kind of like what I thought when I heard the premise, because it's such an interesting premise that like immediately when I heard priests playing in the Vatican, I just pictured the Pope and his cardinals running around a soccer field.
That'd be a different story. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like, it's a very interesting premise. So, like, Michael, I'd be curious. Father Michael, sorry. I'd be curious what it was like for what team was yours called? Sorry.
So I was on the North American Martyrs, which is the North American College.
Right.
So it was seminarians from the U.S., Canada, and a few from Australia.
Okay. And then your guys' team got to the quarters?
Let's see. This was a couple of years ago now. Yeah, we lost to the Gregorian. It was the first round after the group play.
Okay.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then Father Grayson Heenan, he's also one of the subjects in the documentary. And so he was the captain of the team. So we're good friends. And so he's also featured.
Oh, right. Okay. I forgot you guys are on the same team.
Yeah.
Now,
and then Father Duarte, he was a Jesuit with the Gregorian. So I know him as well. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what's it like for you, like playing on the soccer team? Because it seems like very much an escape, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's kind of just an extension of our experience over in Rome. Like we're there to study to become priests. We take classes, we pray together, we have a community life together. But because we're a group of guys in like 20s and 30s, we want to play sports and do physical stuff too. So we play a lot of sports over in Rome just anyways. Like ultimate frisbee is really popular. We play basketball, we play soccer, but the Clericus Cup is a tournament that allows us to play against other seminaries. So there's multiple seminaries in Rome, and so this is a chance for kind of the whole city, to a certain extent, for the seminarians anyway, to kind of play and compete against each other. So it's a lot of fun for that. It's really cool.
Okay. Now, what's the fan base for the Clericus Cup like?
Well, our moms aren't there because they're in different countries, but so for the most part, it's other seminarians from our colleges. So the North American College in Rome, when I was there's about 250 seminarians. And so the team is about, 20 to 30 guys. And then for the most part, it's other seminarians, our faculty and teachers. Occasionally you'll get some media coverage a little bit. Sometimes friends and family are visiting, but that's for the most part. They're not selling tickets or anything like that.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it would be like this big, like if it had like a charity aspect or anything. Right.
I mean, I'll say from an audience perspective, there was a ton of people there, like way more than I expected.
Yeah, totally. Like
yeah, sure.
The finals and stuff like that. Like Yeah, it was shocking how rabid the fans were and how much it felt like a real soccer match.
Yeah.
Not a North American soccer match, but like a European soccer match.
Yeah, and like I remember like the African colleges, they have like the vuvuzelas that were so annoying from like the World Cup, and our college has a tradition of dressing up as superheroes. So our fans dress up as they're super fans. You know, they dress up as various superheroes. So there's a lot of just fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Then you'll see in the end, like, I mean, I don't know who set them off, but there were those those yellow smoke bombs. I think it was the Africans.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Like they bring it. You're like, whoa, that feels kind of illegal, maybe.
Now, Michael, what superhero would you be in that super scenario?
Ooh. So I was always on the field, so they didn't let us dress up in costumes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm a fan of Spider-Man. I'm also pretty tall, so I don't know, one of those stretchy guys maybe or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I don't want to spoil who won this tournament, but I just want to. You mentioned the Urban College, so I'd just be curious. Like, would they be considered the number 1 seed? Because like the first 2 games, they seemed pretty dominant.
Yeah, they're a very strong team. They're a lot of like young, very athletic guys. You know, just they're in shape. You know, they're not like overweight Americans or anything like that. I mean, our college is pretty good too. Some of the colleges, they're some are priests who are studying or working in Rome, so they're a little older. So usually the colleges that age younger tend to be a little stronger. And so the Urbanianum is a big college, a lot of young guys who are in good shape and have played soccer their whole lives. So they're definitely a really strong team. North American College has a good history as well.
Really good history.
Yeah, and a bunch of others. So it rotates around, but Urbanianum is one of the powerhouses.
You guys won in 2018, 2019?
Yeah, it was the year I was in Jerusalem for the semester, so I missed playing that year. So
what a coincidence.
I know, it was like the year before, the 2 years before I show up, they win, and then the year after I leave.
Yeah, exactly.
We will say this: when Chris and I started, we met Grayson first and Michael, and we're like, oh, we love these guys. Let's follow these 2 guys, and we met a few other players, but like we realized quickly that like North America's soccer's good. You had a chance, but there's some other players that could probably take this story further, knowing that
we had to pick a few more horses.
And then Grayson got injured, and then Mike got injured, and it was like, oh, we should really expand our character roster a little bit just in case.
Yeah, there's like very little me playing soccer because I like broke my ribs during the tournament.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I think that's why I wasn't sure if I was pretty sure in the intro it said you were on a team, but I think to be honest, I think that's why I wasn't sure if you actually
we didn't
played
get to
soccer
catch
in the film.
a ton of Father Mike doing his fancy moves, and then Grayson too, like hurt his knee and then had to sit out a bunch, and it was it was tough for them. So
that's kind of like the road that brought you to the Ghana team and then the Portuguese team.
We also wanted to show different experiences too. That was kind of important. Okay. Like it was actually Grayson's idea to introduce us to Duarte, because he thought, here's a charismatic guy who's got a completely different experience, and then I forget how we got connected with
Eric,
to Eric and them, but I think it was really just a desire to go like, this is a world film. Like this is like, obviously we're looking at it through a slightly Western lens, but the Catholic Church is is international, and what's happening in Rome is international. So it was important to tell the different stories of the different countries.
You know, the big thing too is, and I wouldn't say that anyone we met was dishonest in any way, but I was really looking, and I know Chris was looking for people who wanted to speak honestly about everything when it comes from soccer to any issues that have come up with the Catholic Church to what they get out of it and why they're in this, and even just their experience with school. And I really think we did that from Michael to Duarte. Everyone has their own personal experience within this. And I really, really like that. And so that's, I think, what gravitated to us towards it more was who's honest, who's great in front of the camera and wants to speak honestly about this. And the characters we got are the people we found.
Yeah.
A lot.
Okay. And I thought it was very interesting how Duarte was very candid about like, oh, like I could have been a great father, I could have been a great husband.
Sure. I mean, that's I'd say you used a word before, which was escape, Daniel, which I thought was funny because that was sort of the first word I came into this with, was like, oh, this will be funny. They play soccer to escape. And that's not what I got to see. What I saw was the reality of a bunch of people who are extremely human. And there's no escape from any life. This is the life. This is life. And when Mike takes his Clericus off, we go have a beer, and it's like, we would never know he's a priest. Or, Grayson and I have talked deeply about other issues in life, and Duarte the same. And it was a huge revelation, huge learning experience for me, who didn't grow up Catholic, to realize there's a lot of humans here, a lot of different humans that are affected by all sorts of different things in their life. That was huge.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think with me, like, saying at the very beginning that, like, when I heard about this premise, I just pictured the Pope and the Cardinals playing on a soccer pitch. So, like, yeah, and I guess you just don't really realize that, like, I guess, like, priests are obviously human too, and they have, like, and you don't really consider what you guys do in your free time in a way. So I think that's why this documentary was, like, kind of so interesting, if you guys wanted to speak to that more than we already have.
Well, yeah, and that was somewhat of a goal for me, because I grew up in the Catholic Church, and my dad at the time was trying to become a deacon, which is like basically a married like priest later in life kind of thing. And my experience has only been positive with the people and the individuals and the individual priests, and I kind of wanted to explore that a little bit, and or at least that side. Obviously, the premise alone is so fascinating of this, like, soccer tournament in Rome, but I knew that there was this obviously human aspect to all these people, given my experience, and I wanted to explore that a bit,
Everyone we show the film to,
yeah,
the first thing they say is, "Oh wow, these priests are hot." I was like, "What did you expect?" I think they expected like old, like potbelly Friar Tuck priests or something. They're like, "Oh, these are picturing." Yeah, they're like, "These are like GQ priests."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know. It's different. It's like 20-year-olds who are probably more fit than we are.
Like Father Michael, when's the calendar coming out?
Yeah.
Well, there's this terrible thing. I don't think they're real seminarians, but in Rome, they do sell a calendar. And it's like, it's the same pictures every year. And I think they were just models they put in, like, clerics, because it's pretty staged, but it's kind of ridiculous. But there's in Rome, this, like, calendar of seminarians.
I think we have one. We bought one.
Did you?
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah, we were gonna maybe use it in some B-roll or something like that, but yeah.
Oh my god.
They're almost too hot.
Yeah, those ones are big,
Like,
for sure.
Exactly.
Set up unrealistic expectations.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Now, Father Michael, you before the chat, you had mentioned that you had watched it for the first time. So I don't know if you wanted to give some thoughts live, or, I mean, we're not
Sure.
live, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. No, it was, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I thought, I became friends with Chris and Brent and Lauren, and, just the crew over there, like, really great people. And just like doing the interviews was a lot of fun with them too. So it was something I was looking forward to see, and, like, coming to production, and definitely, like, the hours we put into it too, like, wanting to see some fruit for that. But being able to see them kind of tell the story in a way that I thought was very honest and very kind of respectful. I mean, they have a great gift to just, like, let the story tell itself to a certain extent. They didn't come in with an agenda. They didn't come in with, like, any angles, but just, like, seeing what happens, talking to people, just being very curious. And I think that is a really, like, honest, good documentary just because of that. So I enjoyed watching that for those reasons. It's funny, like, because coming from, like, the expert side of thing, and also the guy, like, living it and featured it, I'm kind of like, well, they could have, there's, like, little nuances, or, like, we play soccer, but, like, that's not the entirety of my life, but it does give, like, a little snapshot into, I guess, a realm of life that is very foreign to many people and is very eye-opening. So I think it did a really great job at that.
That's huge to hear. I mean, again, we haven't spoke to Michael about it since it's been finished, and the fact that he just saw it Well, I would say this, which I thought was really cool, is there's sort of two types of films that come out about the Catholic Church. There's either really hard-hitting journalists, very like, this is it, this is what we know, headline kind of stuff. Or there's documentaries that are produced by the Catholic Church, which are like very light and don't like skirt around any topics of discussion. And so I know Chris and I were like, we have to be, this isn't black and white, this is gray. And there's some individuals here and they're very human. And the way I sort of strip it all back, if you take it out and take the soccer and religion out of this is about a bunch of young men who are graduating from their last year of college. And I was like, we've all gone through that. We've gone through this experience of not knowing what we want to do for the rest of our lives. There's doubt. The difference between my life and Michael's life is his life is it involves God, and it's like a life of God next, where mine was like, I could do anything, go anywhere, I can make all these mistakes, and I don't have to really like answer to anybody or anything. That pressure was also shown. You were there for a lot of these like really important moments of Mike's life. Like his ordination was huge to get invited to that and come to Boston and see you as a priest after. Those are really big moments in someone's life. I'm just happy we captured them just for your own like scrapbook, let alone in a movie. It's really great to hear that you could get through the whole thing, Michael, and enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I appreciate it too. Just one other thing was just like you guys took the time to try to understand like where we were coming from. You know, I think a lot of times, like, especially if somebody doesn't have an experience of faith or, you know, isn't part of organized religion in some way, it's kind of like, it oftentimes ends up just like projecting like, oh, this is what it must be about or why they're doing these things. But you let us tell it, you know, and kind of like try to understand and get inside, like, what is the motivation really behind what we're doing. So I thought that really came through, which was awesome. I loved one of my favorite parts was the sequence kind of towards the end with the ordination and the
finals.
The finals. That was beautiful. That was awesome.
That's a Hodge classic.
Nice.
That's a very nice Hodge move there.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah. What was it like putting that? Well, first, Father Michael, thank you for letting me put you on the spot there. And sure. Brent and Chris, what was it like creating that montage?
Well, this was such a really strange film to make, because I think to get what Michael was saying, just this idea of them being able to explain it, it was very like untraditional way to make a film. Usually you have 5 a.m. call times, you got call sheets, you know, Chris and I would have, you know, style decks that we make and pre-meetings with networks and everything, but we didn't do it that way. We did this with our own finances and our own sort of like ability and will to kind of put on multiple hats and go make this thing, not really knowing what we would get. And so, you know, a lot of this stuff was an afterthought where we're like, oh, those two would mix well together. That's a great finals game. And this is sort of the final moment of ordination. We can mix it. You know, do we go and see them later? We should really see them as priests now. Like all these sort of things everything kind of came as we went. And that sort of happens when you're a fly on the wall and you just follow. But I don't know, Chris, do you have anything to add? That's pretty much all I can think of in terms of the structure of it was really loose, and then us just having discussions.
Yeah, and it was just kept like refining and refining and refining. Like Hodge, I just remember like middle of shooting, like we were like laid out the whole story while we were in Rome, and it was like 5 acts, and it was like sprawling, and just having to keep changing it and cutting it, and like there are characters that we interviewed that aren't in this. There's a bunch of guys from the North American College that had little moments. We set up this thing at the bar. Remember all this stuff? Like there were things that just like you're like, no, it just doesn't fit. It's taking us off topic. There's a lot of ideas that we explored with these guys that were just maybe too in the weeds or too theological and stuff. So we had to kind of cast those aside. You know, here's a funny little tidbit. Is that I remember this. Hodge had this idea. He's like, I don't want to shoot slow motion. I don't want to shoot any slow motion in the soccer games. And then when we got home to edit, he's like, oh man, I really wish we shot some slow motion in the soccer games. And luckily we had a shooter, an amazing shooter in Italy, who was able to go and get some pickups and some close-ups and some slow-mo stuff after the fact in the following year of the Clericus Cup. So some of that footage is so slightly, you know, cheated to accentuate the drama of it. But Yeah, that's something, and that's just all in service of the story and, living with it for a while. And then the other benefit of living with it for so long, and who knows if we would have been able to even pull off this story, was Father Oscar finally got in touch with us after a couple of years of just going dark. And he said that he would share his side of the story because we had conclusions for everybody else. Everybody else became a priest and we were able to show that. But there was this hanging thing of well, where did Father Oscar go after his dismissal? And we were finally able to catch up with him, and he's happily,
he's honest too.
He's honest. He's a happily married man with a family, and he seems to be thriving, to be fair. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the life after priesthood.
That's right.
That seemed pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think that was an important story to tell, because I think that kind of shows that, we are humans and fallible, and that maybe not everybody, maybe this isn't the path for everybody as much as you want it to believe. He spoke to that quite candidly, so.
Cool. Yeah. You had mentioned a bar, and I saw that Father Michael had laughed, so I'd love to hear a bit more about the story for that.
There's a bar in the North American college. These colleges are amazing. I mean, the North American college is very well appointed. We didn't cover some of it, but they have the basketball court and they have the weight training room. They're set up like universities, and they have a kind of a, what would you call it, Mike?
It's like a student lounge, we call it, but they have drinks there too. So but you guys set up a shot or a little. It was like a group discussion where I don't know what this looked like when you look at the footage. It must have been a train wreck because you were asking theological questions to a group of 15 seminarians at the same time. And so I'm sure we were just cutting each other off, saying, no, you should say it this way, So you're asking all these theological questions to 15 of us kind of sitting around at the student lounge having drinks. And it was
you know what it becomes too when you have a lot of different players that you start to follow is that the audience does want to grip onto certain individuals. So if you have this big group after, they're like, who am I listening to? What's happening? And so we felt like Michael really knew how to tell a story. We knew that Grayson really knew how to tell a story. Duarte, it sort of weaned out to people that we knew were just there. We had an arc to them. We followed them home. We could kind of grip onto it for the audience to you see them playing soccer, everything. Whereas some of the others that didn't really work out. There's a few players on the African Lions team too that we spent a lot of time with.
Robert.
Robert too was a great soccer player, but
oh my God,
overall, it didn't work out with him telling the story the right way, where Eric fit in. You look at Eric and you just want to smile. The guy's, he's just amazing. And and that's okay. That happens sometimes in films too, totally. It happens all the time.
There's actually a character by the name of Harley Davidson who didn't make it through. Who was, this guy? Father Mike? He's from India, and he was on the Legionnaires, and he was really sweet. Really sweet guy. We did a couple interviews with him, but that's just filmmaking though. Not everything's gonna make it in.
Why was his name Harley Davidson again? I can't remember.
His name is Harley. His last name is Harley, and then everyone just started calling him Harley Davidson.
Oh yeah. We were hoping there was more there.
Yeah, we were hoping there was more than just his name.
If he would have had a big bike, then he probably would have got in, right?
That would have been great.
He was the exact opposite of that. Very thin Indian man. Yeah.
I mean, the film's only 68 minutes, so maybe he'll make the extras.
The extras, director's cut.
It's funny, that was also a choice. You could go forever. You could really do a 6-part series and follow these guys in every game, be a tournament. But we realized sort of the amount of soccer versus curiosity that people have of sort of within the Vatican walls. I think we found a really good balance, and we landed on 68 minutes. We're like, this story doesn't need to be bigger. And all the broadcasters feel the same. That's changed in the last few years. Usually you'd have to hit an 80-minute, 90-minute film, and you drag things on. And we really felt that this was sort of the right length, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
cool. Did you guys consider who your audience of the film would be? Would it be soccer fans, or would it be faith film based?
It was the intention was it was the crossover. There's a billion people watched the last World Cup, and there are a billion Catholics in the world. Hopefully there's a crossover there. Yeah.
Okay, that's actually that's fair, and that's the mix. Like I've said a lot, like it's such a unique film, and the only similarity I could ever think of would be that scene in the Two Popes when they're watching the soccer at the end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot actually. When I watched that last year, and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, Pope Francis is quite famously a huge supporter of well, he just blessed the Euro Cup like 2 weeks ago. We tried to get to get in touch with him, try and interview him, and obviously very difficult man to get a hold of. But yeah, he's gone to Clericus games, right, Father Mike?
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't seen him.
I'm pretty sure that
photos,
is the
yeah.
case.
He didn't come to my games.
Yeah. We tried to license a few photos. You know what? He went to Duarte, met him at a game.
Uh-huh.
It was at a Gregorian game like years before.
It's a Jesuit bias. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Duarte's met everybody. He met Scorsese too. So.
He met Martin Scorsese.
Did he actually?
Yeah, he went to some film screening.
Scorsese filmed Silence to all the Jesuits in Rome to get their opinion on it and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I was curious that would any obviously everyone here is pretty talented. And obviously they wouldn't search out like pro contracts for soccer because you guys are priests. But did you think there were any like players that are good enough to like play soccer at like a pro level?
There was a guy that used to play for the North American College. This was before I arrived there, and then he ended up switching to Ireland, I think. And they didn't really have a big college or a big team, but he did play some soccer professionally in Ireland, I think. If I'm not
mistaken. And there was a
keeper.
And there was a keeper from South America who played pro, who was in the tournament at the time. Yeah. I like he was like with Redemptus or something. Like I forget. There was some really dirty keeper. Yeah. Yeah. There's some really good like. So yeah, definitely there's pro-am.
Most of us are not close. Like I was, Grayson. Father Grayson played a lot of soccer. He was also a club hockey player at BC. I was more of a track guy. So I ran track in college, and I still run a bit. But so I just ran around and like knocked people over.
You're the muscle.
Yeah.
You cherry picked.
Yeah.
Now, I'd love to see if you guys could speak about the blue card scene in the film, because I thought that was really great.
I feel like we hammed it up a little bit. We only saw one blue card get. I think we asked them to play it. Like it didn't come up that much, but we just loved that there was a blue card. So we really hammed it up. But I think we asked every one of you guys in an interview about it, and Grayson like played along, was like, I don't think I've even seen one. But we're like, no. Yeah. Come on, you got to tell us something.
I thought it was funny. I mean, you could kind of tell it was more of like not a real thing, because like even in that, like Father Grayson's like, it's somewhat legendary status. It's a real thing, but it's like the refs aren't used to like issuing it.
No.
It's like a hockey concept, like.
And now
I think it was built in for like when in the inception of the Clericus Cup as maybe a bit of a marketing thing or something, like just a kind of thing for the press to grab onto.
Oh, like me. Okay.
No, like us too. Like we were like, wait, there's a third card? You're like, yeah, it does work. Like you're like, it's fascinating.
And the background for the listeners, right? It's just kind of like a timeout in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for reflection, right? Like you're supposed to, instead of a yellow card, which is kind of a warning, it's like it's more like hockey. Yeah, you're right. It's like a timeout. You're in the penalty box for like 5 minutes to reflect and pray.
A temporary red card. I don't know.
Exactly. Now, I wanted to bring up just, I guess, a little background just for you and Chris and Brent. Like, how did you guys hear about the Clericus Cup, and like what made you want to tell this story? And come on.
So Chris and I, we worked together at CBC for years in Canada, and Chris got me my first job there. And then I started going off and doing a lot of films and filmmaking. And then it was Chris who came and said, if you want to do a sports doc in like the Hodge Films kind of world, my dad is a deacon, and he told me about this cup, this Clericus Cup, about priests that play within the Vatican. And I think it was like within a couple of weeks, Chris, we had you guys over, you and your dad over there to see the tournament.
Yeah,
and watch
it all happened at Hodge and I did a film called The Pistol Shrimps about a female basketball league, and so there was a little bit of like, oh, maybe let's try and figure out another like sports thing that's fun and different, and that at the premiere at Tribeca, which was in April, like it was literally just a month later, that because we were talking about ideas, and they were like, let's go do it and let's go find out if there's people over there. And so yeah, my dad and I flew over there to meet Grayson, and on our last day we met Grayson. We kind of had struck out with a number of people, and then we finally met Grayson, and that kind of led us on this full journey. And I said to Hodge, I'm like, oh yeah, there's definitely one person for sure that I'd love to, because it wasn't until we came back later to meet Father Michael when we were doing the actual interviewing. Yeah.
Okay, that's funny. The pistol shrimps was gonna be my next question, is seeing if if what you guys learned from that film, like bringing on to this one, because like you said, it's kind of like a similarly like human interest sports kind of thing, right?
I think that's it. I think you nailed it. It's a human interest sports story, that there are different kinds of sports stories out there. I'm a huge fan of sports films, ESPN 30 for 30s. And there can be a different way to do this. And that's what I like. There's a way to include comedy and humanity. And maybe sports is actually number 2 in the story. Sports gets us in, sports connects us. That's why we love it. And I think for this world, some people feel so disconnected from the Catholic Church. It's like, well, why don't we get you in with sports? And then you get to meet some really interesting people and decide for yourself. And that's what I really liked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You can come in for the sports and you stay for the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
and for the great characters too, right?
Yeah. Like Felice.
No.
That's the organizer of the Clericus Cup.
Oh,
he is that.
Oh, right.
Like, we didn't do anything to him.
No acting.
Like, we didn't give him lines. We didn't that is him. Like, we just let him go.
Round 1.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like the broken English, it's like so good.
Oh man, he's just hilarious.
Now,
Great guy.
I'd also love to ask a non-soccer question, but sorry, is Duarte was the one for the Portugal team?
You have to swallow like all the vowels. Portuguese.
Duarte.
Why did I say with that accent? The Duarte. Okay.
Duarte.
I'd love to ask, he has a singing moment in the film over one of his interviews. So how did you learn that he could sing, and what was it like getting him in the little studio for that?
It came up right away. Like, I think.
Oh yeah.
As I recall, even in that first interview, that's what we're cutting to, right? When he's talking about that, I think so. Yeah, he had as is portrayed in the film, is that he had this kind of YouTube hit that played on the radio in Portugal. Like, he had this kind of hit song. He had a band. He wanted to be a guy in a band and play music, and that never went away. That's kind of like a known thing about the Jesuits, is they really do let you explore your ministry and your faith through your various extracurricular activities. And so Duarte's in his school, they had this recording studio available. It's used for their radio show and stuff like that. And he had keys to it and had full access. And he just put out, we should definitely find the link for that, but he just put out that album that he was working on while we were there. He is a very passionate musician, and he still is. And that song that you hear him play, it's part of an album that just came out.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you want to grab me the link, I can put it in the description.
It is pretty cool. Lots of guys just have backgrounds you wouldn't expect at all. Just guys I've studied with too. Whether that's music, they could have been professional musicians, or I've studied with guys who are literally NASA military rocket scientists and other stuff too. So they come from all sorts of backgrounds.
Yeah.
Now, for someone like me who doesn't really know much about the schooling to be a priest, are you majoring in anything, Father Michael, or are you just majoring in just being ordained?
So I was ordained 4 years ago. So right after when this film was done. So I I got a general degree in theology while in Rome, and then I specialized in scripture. So now I teach at the seminary in Boston. I teach a little scripture, as an adjunct professor here. So yeah, I specialized in biblical theology and scripture.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, nice. Now, I'm a credits watcher, and I noticed, Chris, that someone called Allie Kelly co-wrote the film. Any relation?
Yes. Yeah, that's my sister. Yeah, my whole family was very involved in this. Yeah.
The whole film production crew is somewhat like related.
Related in some way. Yeah.
Can't go 10 feet without finding a Kelly.
Yeah, that's right. I also run a company called Kelly and Kelly with my business partner, who is not related to me, but has the same last name. My wife is Lauren Berkovich. She is one of the producers of the film, and her whole family came over. Actually, her dad was head of transport. He's very proud of that credit. And he drove us everywhere in Italy. And yeah, my family also came over, and my dad was kind of what was he credited as? Like chief like church council or something like that.
Yeah.
Head of Catholic affairs, something like that.
But what's that like though? Like having all your family over there while you're making the film. That's kind of
incredible.
Cool.
It was incredible. Like honestly, this was part of it too. It's like this film is 100% dedicated to my dad, and like it's about for me personally, this doesn't come across in the film, but it's about exploring, his faith and understanding where he comes from, and so that part was amazing. But I also was able to bring over my 2-year-old daughter at the time. And that was very special too. Like she was 2, and I forever will be able to go like, yeah, when you were 2, we picked up everything and went and made a film with our best friends and family, and you were there for it, and you ran around, and Grayson picked you up, and you were on the soccer field at the Clericus Cup kicking around. Like, yeah, so it's I mean, I don't want to do it for every project. I don't want to bring my family along, but it was special for this one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, does she play soccer now?
Oh yeah, she's great. She's really good. Yeah.
Okay. So her love for the game comes from the Clericus Cup.
Yeah, her mom's like her mom's really good. She played until 2012, like fairly seriously, until she broke her foot playing. So yeah, okay. It comes from her mom.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Not me.
Brent, I saw that you did the cinematography for the film as well. So what was that like?
It was great. I mean, it was I'm not a cinematographer by trade. I'm a director. So it was good though. I feel like a lot of scenes needed to be really intimate. And so, when we sat with Duarte, that was me, Chris, and Duarte sat at dinner. We didn't even know if it was in focus or anything. He was just saying such great things that we were like, let's see. He kept going back and in and out. So like, It almost didn't matter at some points. Like we just needed to be a fly on the wall. And I feel like if you have a huge crew, which we do for a lot of our films, sometimes that intimacy can go. And just in this case, being over in Rome, we just needed really small crews. And so it was sometimes by choice, but I really liked being the cinematographer on this too. It was a really good challenge.
Mm-hmm. And
what was it a big challenge filming the sports scenes?
Yeah, those we got a little bit more people on, and these are, soccer is a weird one. We'd done Pistol Shrimps, which is basketball. Sure. There's like 100+ points a game, and it's tight little courts. This is like a massive, huge field in the middle of a sunny day in Rome, where players are like this big, and there's like maybe one goal scored. So and a bunch of games happening at the same time on the different fields. So it was hard. It was a challenge to do the sports part of things for sure.
Really hard.
Yeah, like I can totally relate because I went to school for journalism. So I love doing sports photography. So it's a different beast, but like totally like with the ISO and everything, trying to follow people along the soccer field, that's a huge area, so I can totally relate to that.
Well, and there was a bunch of sort of scenes going on. We had our players like Michael and Grayson and different people that we wanted to follow. We had to follow the game and the points and everything that was happening there. There was the bench, which we had access to, which we rarely have access to with sports. Usually you can't go near a bench. They seemed very open to it, and because they knew we were filming, that we were allowed to film. We have a scene where we film Father Oscar sitting on the bench because he didn't play that much. But then there was also the crowd that was happening at the same time. So we really had to we had to be really,
Be in a lot of places.
shifty and careful and be in different places at the same time.
Cool. And I think you really like paint like a big picture in those soccer like action scenes. So that's a lot of coverage.
That's it. I think the fact is the audience can't be there. Not everyone can travel to Rome and go see these games. They happen during a couple months of the year only. So you're going to get very lucky if you're a tourist and stumble upon it. So we really wanted to make sure that you got to see it as if you may never get to go there one day.
Okay. Now for the tourists who might go see it, what months do they play in?
Well, I think you'd want to go to the finals. Yeah, you'd want to go. It takes place over 3 months. It's like the lead up to Easter, around April, and then they kind of take a little bit of a break, and then the finals are usually in May.
Okay, so we just missed it.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. I don't know if it happened this year.
No, they'd be done by now.
No, they didn't do it. But yeah, it's next year for sure.
Yeah, Italy was totally shut down this year.
Yeah.
But
that's fair.
And it's only on the weekends of the games, right? I think
so.
Yeah,
I think
you're
right. It was just
That's
weekend games, Saturday or just Sunday game. No, Saturday games.
Saturday and Sunday. I feel like you're right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Cool enough event to plan your trip around, though. I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's cool.
Now, my last one before we wrap here is there a Team Canada?
No, they would fall into the North American College. There were.
Okay.
I don't even know if there were any. Were there any Canadians on the team? At that
Probably
time?
not on the team. Like, there's only a few guys at the college when I was there. There was like 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah.
Though oftentimes, not so much for the Clericus Cup, but when we have little like in-house tournaments at our college. So like we play a football tournament and for just a bunch of different things. And so they'll do like the national anthems for it just because we're ridiculous. And they would always have the Canadian guys sing like, "Oh Canada."
That's amazing.
Love it.
The flag's out and everything. It's great.
And it has to be the Canadian guy to sing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Then he'd go straight to the bench because he's not good at soccer.
No, they never played anything.
No. He's just a water boy to sing the anthem.
Yeah.
No, I love it if you guys could just plug where we can find the film, The Holy Game.
Sure, I can do it. So the Holy Game's available at the end of this month, June 28th. It comes to Crave TV in Canada, and then it's being released with Gravitas Ventures in the US and all over the world. So you're going to see it on iTunes, VOD, Vimeo, Amazon, you name it. Just look up The Holy Game. You'll be able to find it worldwide at the end of this month.
Yeah.
Cool. And then Crave and Gravitas is the same day.
Yeah.
It's on June 28th. Okay.
Yep.
And sorry, there's one more for being Canadian and premiering on Crave. What does that mean for you guys? That's kind of interesting.
I mean, it's great for me. This is our 3rd or 4th film now on Crave TV, and I just think Crave is doing it right when it comes to films and TV in Canada. I just love what they're putting out, and they're taking risks. And this is a different kind of movie, and Crave was the first ones in. They immediately, when I told them about this, said that we're a bunch of Canadians that made it. They immediately wanted to be a part of it. So this is a huge honor.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So co-directors Chris Kelly and Brent Hodge for The Holy Game, as well as Father Michael Zimmerman. Thank you guys for coming on and chatting with me about your film for the Filmcraziest Show.
Thanks, Daniel.
Bye.
Cool.